This is probably the dumbest thing I've ever done to a car. For the last 6 months, I've been running regular 87 octane gas in a car that explicitly requires 93 premium. We're talking about a twin-turbo V8 supercar that costs more than most people's houses. The owner's manual has warnings in bold red letters. The fuel door has a sticker that says premium fuel only. Even the gas gauge icon on the dashboard reminds you every single time you start it. I ignored all of it. And after 4,000 miles and half a year of this abuse, I took the engine apart to see what actually happened. What I found was shocking, but probably not in the way you think. Let me back up and explain why I even did this. See, there's this ongoing debate in the car community. Some people swear that running regular gas in a premium car will destroy your engine in weeks. Others claim it's just a scam by oil companies to make you spend more money. The truth? Nobody actually had long-term data, just theories, opinions, and fear-mongering. So I bought a 2017 Audi R8 V10 with 38,000 miles on it. Yes, a real R8. No, I'm not rich. It had a salvage title for minor front-end damage that was already repaired. I got it for a fraction of what a clean title would cost. Perfect test car, because I wasn't worried about resale value. This car has a 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V10 that makes 540 horsepower and redlines at 8,700 RPM. It requires 93 octane premium fuel. The compression ratio is 12.7 to 1. That's high, really high. For context, most regular economy cars run around 10 to 1. High compression means higher cylinder temperatures and pressure. That's how you make power. But it also means you need high-octane fuel to prevent something called pre-ignition or knock. Here's the quick science. Octane rating measures fuel's resistance to detonating under pressure. Low-octane fuel ignites too early when compressed. The air-fuel mixture explodes before the piston reaches the top of its stroke. That creates a knocking sound and, over time, can destroy pistons, valves, and cylinder walls. Every car enthusiast knows this. That's why everyone says never put regular gas in a premium car. But modern cars have knock sensors. These sensors listen for pre-ignition and tell the engine computer to adjust timing and reduce power to protect the engine. Theoretically, the car should be able to run on lower octane fuel, just with less performance and efficiency. So the question became, what actually happens over thousands of miles? Does the knock sensor protection actually work, or does the engine slowly eat itself from the inside? I documented everything. Oil analysis every 1,000 miles, performance testing on a dyno, fuel economy tracking, and ultimately a full teardown inspection. Here's what happened month by month. Month 1 was interesting right away. The first thing I noticed, the car felt slower. Not dramatically, but noticeably. I took it to a dyno after the first tank of 87 octane. The R8 should make about 540 horsepower at the crank, which translates to roughly 460 to the wheels. On 87 octane, 412 wheel horsepower. That's a loss of about 48 horsepower, or roughly 10%. The engine was pulling timing aggressively to prevent knock. You could see it on the OBD2 scanner. Timing retard values were constantly jumping around, sometimes pulling as much as 8 degrees. Fuel economy also took a hit. On premium, the R8 averaged about 16 mpg in mixed driving. On regular, 13.8 mpg. So not only was I making less power, I was also burning more fuel to do it. The cost savings from cheaper gas basically disappeared. But here's the weird part. The car ran fine. No check engine lights, no misfires, no catastrophic failures. The knock sensors were doing their job. Month 2, I started hearing it. A very faint pinging sound under hard acceleration, usually around 4,000 to 5,000 RPM when the engine was under load. It wasn't constant, but it was there. That's the sound of pre-ignition that the knock sensors couldn't fully eliminate.
I sent oil samples to Blackstone Laboratories for analysis. Oil analysis can detect microscopic metal particles that indicate engine wear. The first report came back showing slightly elevated aluminum and iron levels. Aluminum from the pistons, iron from the cylinder walls. Nothing catastrophic, but definitely higher than baseline. Month 3 is when I started getting nervous. The pinging got more frequent. The engine felt rougher at idle. Fuel economy dropped to 12.9 mpg. I started wondering if I was about to launch this motor. Another dyno session showed power had dropped even further, 398 wheel horsepower. The engine was now pulling up to 10 degrees of timing in certain RPM ranges just to survive. The second oil analysis showed even higher metal content. Aluminum was up 40% from the first test, iron up 35%. The lab notes said, "Monitor closely, suggests abnormal wear." Month 4, I'll admit I almost stopped the experiment. The car developed a slight hesitation during acceleration, not a misfire, but a stumble, like the engine was confused about what to do. I later learned this was the ECU going into limp mode momentarily when knock levels got too high. But no warning lights, no catastrophic failure, just a gradual degradation of performance and smoothness. Months 5 and 6 were more of the same, slow, steady decline. By the end, the car was making 384 wheel horsepower. That's a 76 horsepower loss from stock. The V10 that used to scream to redline now felt flat and uninspiring. Fuel economy settled at 12.2 mpg. The final oil analysis showed aluminum at 62 ppm, nearly double what it should be. Iron at 48 ppm, also roughly double. Silicon was up too, indicating dirt or debris getting past the air filter, possibly from the engine struggling with combustion efficiency. Then came the moment of truth, teardown day. I pulled the heads off, dropped the oil pan, and removed the pistons. What I found was eye-opening. The cylinder walls showed visible scoring, not deep gouges, but definite wear marks you could feel with your fingernail. This was from the pistons rattling during pre-ignition events, thousands of tiny shock waves slowly wearing away the cylinder coating. The pistons themselves had carbon buildup that was significantly worse than normal. The tops of the pistons showed small pitting marks from the abnormal combustion. Again, not catastrophic damage, but definitely accelerated wear. The valves looked surprisingly okay, but the valve seats showed some erosion. The spark plugs were toast, completely worn down and covered in deposits. Here's the most interesting part. The engine didn't explode. It didn't seize. It didn't throw a rod through the block. But it absolutely suffered accelerated wear that would have significantly shortened its lifespan. A mechanic I consulted estimated that if I had continued running 87 octane, this engine would need a rebuild around 80,000 to 100,000 miles, instead of the typical 150,000 to 200,000 miles you'd expect with proper fuel. So, here's my conclusion after 6 months and 4,000 miles of abuse. Can you run regular gas in a premium car? Yes, the engine won't immediately explode. Modern NOx sensors and engine management will protect it from catastrophic failure. Should you? Absolutely not. You lose power, you lose fuel economy, you cause accelerated wear to expensive internal components, and you actually save no money because the reduced fuel economy offsets the cheaper gas price. On this R8, I spent about $720 less on fuel over 4,000 miles by using regular instead of premium, but the engine wear I caused will cost at least $8,000 to $12,000 to properly repair. That's a pretty bad trade-off. The only scenario where running lower octane makes sense is an emergency. You're in the middle of nowhere, the only gas station has 87, and you need to limp home. Fine, your car will survive, but making it a habit, you're playing a very expensive long game that you will lose. Your car's engineers didn't put that premium fuel requirement in the manual to upsell you. They did it because the engine genuinely needs it to operate as designed. So save yourself the headache, the power loss, and the future repair bills. Just run the fuel your car asks for. If this video answered a question you've always wondered about, hit that like button. Subscribe for more experiments that answer the questions nobody else will test. Because sometimes being dumb with cars teaches us all something valuable.